Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial Group.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our office are located in beautiful, overcast, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined this week and every single week by my very capable crew. My oldest daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and Rob Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist. Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I, watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us retirement coaches. Gang, again, good morning. And when we talk about watching people's money, it's been a little bit more fun this week.
Absolutely.
Welcome to November.
Woohoo! Thank God October's over.
Right.
September was fun. October, not a lot of fun. November seems like it's starting off well. Don't know which direction this is going. Kind of neat to see that employment is still continuing at a nice clip.
Mm-hmm.
The Fed's decided to put off raising interest rates temporarily, and the markets have responded very positively to both of those sets of news. So, woohoo! Away we go.
Now, what a difference 10 days makes.
Right.
Absolutely. And you know what's fun? Fun day?
What's that?
Monday, when the markets open again. We get to start the fun all over again. And we have fun, we hope, on our show. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And Aaron is going to remind you about how ways you can keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. You can log onto our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button, where you can send us an email with a question, which we'll try to get to during the show if you'd like, a request for a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both, or if you just have a comment. So jblfinancial.com in the upper right-hand corner, click Contact Us. In the lower left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a pop-up box that appears that says Sign Up, and that's a sign-up for our monthly newsletter. We like to send it out by email at the beginning of every single month. We've got a brand-new newsletter for November. Tell us all about it.
And we got some great articles there in our November 2023 newsletter you're definitely going to want to check out. The first one being Uneven Jobs Recovery. And this article basically highlights the differences between pre- and post-pandemic employment. And surprise, surprise, there are millions more of remote workers in the post-pandemic environment. Not a big surprise there, but it's interesting to see the changing nature of employment, especially as we get further out from the pandemic. And our next article is New Life for Your Old life insurance policy. You know, life insurance serves many valuable purposes. You know, later in life, when your kids have grown, you've retired, you've paid off the mortgage, you may think that you don't need to carry that life insurance anymore. This article highlights some reasons why you may want to keep that. I know you've heard us talk about repurposing life insurance to serve other goals as you move through life, whether it's helping the younger generation. Maybe you want to change the beneficiaries, get some of that money to the younger generation, really give them a leg up. Or maybe you have IRAs that are going to be left to your children or grandchildren, and you don't want to have them left with a big, giant tax obligation. Repurposing old life insurance is a great way to accomplish this and a lot of other things. And our last article highlights some clean vehicle tax credits.
Because we could all use some money off of our cars.
Especially when it's a hybrid or a plug-in. I'm not
electric?
I'm not a big fan of the total electric because you have to rely on the grid. But I am a big fan of the hybrids. I think they're really worth the money, and I think that you'll get a lot of use out of them, especially if you do a lot of commuting. So this is a great article if you want to keep abreast of those tax credits.
And I do want to say that we have our first text comment of the day, and I wanted to read it because it's about the newsletter. Good morning. Thank you for your newsletter. I work for SSM Health, and we're going through open enrollment now. Your article on high deductible HSAs was very helpful, and I decided to enroll in the plan. So I think, Dad, you used to mention this quite a bit. This is really informational. It has no sales pitches in it, no discounts. This isn't the AARP magazine. This is really information that not only is great for planning for retirement while you're retired, but it's really multi-generational because a lot of the financial decisions that people make while they're working are ones that they'll continue to make in retirement. So there's plenty of overlap. Can pass it on. We're coming up on the holiday season. If you've run out of stocking stuffers, we are going to have a December newsletter. We can even mail it to you, the hard copy and the glossy paper, if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, this, especially this article about health savings accounts and the use of high deductible plans is really appropriate because we know that, this all sort of, came originally from cafeteria plans where people were able to save money pre-tax and then use it to pay for things that they were paying for after tax on a pre-tax basis. But now it's really become a savings vehicle really along its own because, frankly, it's probably the most tax-preferred vehicle in the Internal Revenue Code. Right, babe?
That's right. So HSA plans are triple tax-preferred, which means if you put the money in pre-tax, so you're able to have that if you're doing a payroll deduction like our Texture is through SSM, that comes out before you pay your income taxes. So you get income tax preferred treatment. Then the money is going to stay in your account. Once you've reached $3,000 of contributions, then many times the HSA plan itself will allow you to invest if you'd like, and that money will grow tax deferred. If you use the money for qualified medical expenses, then you don't pay taxes when the money comes out.
And if you sit it in for 15 years, you could even then eventually use it to enroll it over to a Roth IRA under the new tax changes.
That's right. But, for most people, you're going to have medical expenses throughout your entire life, including...
Or medical premiums, right?
Exactly. So, if you're someone that's currently working but you're approaching retirement, it still makes sense to consider an HSA plan. Those are portable, which means you get to take it with you when you leave work. The money's always yours. So if you've accumulated some money in an HSA and you retire, now either it's time to pay individual health premiums because you're not quite 65 yet, or Medicare premiums, you're able to do that. Now you can't pay your medical premiums with your HSA dollars while you're enrolled in the plan that gave you access to the HSA. So, for example, our Texture can't reimburse himself for any of the premiums that SSM is pulling from his paycheck to cover his health insurance. That's not considered a qualified expense while you're on the plan. But when our Texture retires from SSM and he either has individual health insurance to pay premiums for or Medicare, he can then either reimburse himself or pay directly from the HSA.
Very good. And again, we call it the Coach's Corner newsletter. Easy access. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Go to the bottom left-hand corner. Click on that Coach's Corner newsletter icon. We'll be very happy to send that out to you every month. And as Erin mentioned before, I'm sure she did, is that we do keep archived the last 12 months of those for your viewing, printing, or downloading convenience. And again, our phone lines are open. We want to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And the texter makes another great point. Just like IRAs, 401ks, and other retirement vehicles, HSAs actually have catch-up contributions available for individuals over the age of 50. So you have a annual maximum contribution, and then if you're over 50, you get to add a little bit extra as a catch-up. So you could have the opportunity to potentially put a lot away before retirement. It's just another bucket of money.
Yes, and as you know, I guess our first discussion this morning, just a quick one, is going to be that the Internal Revenue Service, our friends, have come out with the new 2024 contribution limits for 401ks, IRAs, and other retirement accounts.
Rob, give us some of the numbers. Everyone, get your pencils ready so you know how much has got to go in there next year.
The 401k plans are increasing to $23,000 in 2024, up from 22.5 in 2023. The catch-up provisions for savers age 50 and older will remain unchanged at $7,500, and so will the new amounts for 403b plans and most 457 plans and thrift savings plans as well.
So those contributions for 457s, 403bs, and TSP or thrift savings plans, if you happen to be a government employee, have also increased.
The agency also boosted contribution limits for IRAs, allowing investors to save $7,000 in 2024, up from $6,500, and catch-up contributions will remain unchanged at $1,000.
So if you're over 50, $8,000 in 2024 versus $7,500. If you're still under 50, $7,000, and that's for individuals that don't have access to 401ks or are under the income limits and might be able to make contributions in more than one place. That's going to be true for IRAs and Roth IRAs.
Yes, exactly. So that is for traditional IRAs or Roth. So an opportunity to boost your savings a little bit on a pre-tax basis. Definitely take advantage of those if you can. And, again, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. As I like to say, we always have a lot of things on our mind. What's more important is what's on yours. Babe, do we have...
We do have some text questions.
Readable ones?
And, yes.
Okay.
We'll see.
And our first texter writes, I'm in my 80s. My in-laws are in their 80s and have divided their estate equally between children and grandchildren. Each will get a nice amount. Is there any inheritance tax difference between retired adults and those in their 20s and 30s?
Probably.
Not.
Well, I mean, there's probably a tax difference because if you're older, you're probably earning more money in a higher income tax bracket. So if you're inheriting IRA assets, those are going to be taxed at a higher rate than if you're unemployed in your early 20s.
Or underemployed.
Correct.
Yes, but yes, so there are no differentials in terms of the tax law. It's all considered ordinary income. And as we know, with inheriting IRAs today, we have new rules. And the new rules basically go, if you inherit an IRA from a non-spouse, basically donor, those IRAs have to be empty within 10 years. If that person that you're inheriting it from was receiving required minimum distributions, you have to take those out, continue to take those out based on their age. That's the minimum. But if you're under the age of 18 when you inherit an IRA, you can pull minimum distributions based on your age until you reach your 18th birthday, and then you go back to the
10 years
adult rules.
Right.
So you go from the kids' table to the adults' table.
And that's just for traditional IRA assets. If you inherit proceeds from the sale of a house, if you inherit after-tax money, if that might be in stocks, in bonds.
If you're the beneficiary of a life insurance policy, that would be tax-free.
All of these are examples of tax-free, or you receive a step-up in basis, which eliminates the old tax basis of those assets. So, for example, if you inherit mom and dad's house, you get the fair market value at the date of their death versus what they originally purchased the house for. If you happen to sell the house, you'll only pay capital gains on the difference between fair market value and what you sold it for. If you sell it for a premium, if you sell it at a discount, you'll get to take a capital loss over time.
Yes.
And you know what? The text line is already heating up this morning.
I love that.
Let's take a few more.
And our next texter writes, what is the reasoning for raising the interest rate?
This sounds like a person that is smart. They do not watch the news or the financial news that just repeats the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
I think they probably live a happier life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, simply by increasing the cost of borrowing, that increases or that should reduce the demand for borrowing. And when the demand for borrowing decreases, it means companies aren't borrowing money to expand their inventories, build buildings, et cetera,
hire new employees, expand, production on things. It's supposed to be something that
a mechanism to help
it's like putting the brakes on the economy. So if you think about a lower interest rate puts gas in the economy because you can borrow more for less money. It usually stimulates the economy, whereas raising interest rates makes things more expensive. So when they talk about demand destruction or slowing the economy down or a shallow recession, all of those things are euphemisms for slowing down economic activity.
As an example today, if we compare interest rates where they are today for home purchase, home borrowing, mortgages, as compared to where they were a year ago, you'll understand why the refinance market has basically dried up, because nobody wants to trade in mortgages at lower rates for ones at higher rates.
Or, oh my gosh, during COVID, it exploded because rates were so low that people were able to lock in those 2.8s.
And they were bored and they didn't have anything to do, so they could do that, obviously.
Save a little cash, potentially.
Yes. And now, because the cost of borrowing has increased if you think about it, your mortgage payments, if you're somebody that's
by double.
Right. So it's really, that's going to reduce demand. And reduced demand does a couple of things. And certainly on the builder side, people aren't building houses as quickly. They're not selling. They're not trading up, et cetera. So that's the purpose of it. The only collaterally good side of this is that savers are finally
being rewarded
for having cash in the bank.
Right. When was the last time anyone remembered, if you're using a high-yielding money market account or you have decided to purchase a CD, earning anything more than 1 or 2%? Now we're double. Some people are even triple that 2%, depending upon where you go, how long you're holding your CD or
It may seem like interest rates are very high or moderately high now, but I think it's just a normal rate environment. I think we were spoiled for
10, 20 years.
Of like basically zero interest rates. But now that we're in a normal rate environment, it seems a little high, but it's kind of normal if you look at any 50 or 60-year period.
Well, I was just going to say, just as a final comment here, at least for me, what folks need to consider is that there is not an infinite market for savings vehicles. There just isn't. I mean, what I mean by that is that we know the government has to basically they have to sell new Treasury notes to refinance the debt they've already put out there. And the banks obviously don't have an unlimited amount of money to lend to either individuals through mortgages or private loans or through corporate loans. So as interest rates rise, what hopefully occurs is that demand for money goes down. And as demand for money goes down, that's not a bad thing. Interest rates will
naturally fall.
They will naturally fall versus being artificially put up. We're trying to find what we would call an equilibrium point, and that can be different at different times. Where the issue is going to happen, and we don't see it today, but it could happen 1 to 5, could be longer, is the amount of debt that the federal government has issued that has to now be repurposed, okay? When they were refinancing it a year ago, guess what? They were paying almost nothing.
Which they weren't doing,
Not
unfortunately.
now. The 10-year Treasury is running close to 5%. So that so what will happen is that as the government goes in to refinance their debt, they're going to be squeezing out the ability for banks to lend money, the ability for consumers to borrow money, etc. And that what that will then do is make interest rates rise.
So basically the trajectory most likely will look like the Fed lowering the Fed funds rate to bring rates down, because since, unfortunately, unlike the rest of us during COVID, the federal government didn't refinance its debt the way many of you did with your mortgages going from 4s down to 2s or 3s. When the federal government wants to refinance its debt, it's going to bring the rate down so that it can naturally rise again, because they're going to squeeze out a lot of borrowers.
Yeah, and that's really where the issues happen. And frankly, when the government's borrowing too much money and they become the major borrower, that's where interest rates go up crazy, and that's what we saw in the Carter years. I mean,
right.
Actually, in the Carter years, and what happened was eventually we went to something where we tried to get rid of the federal debt. So all these things cycle, but you got to be ready. So it's cool that you can earn a little more interest on your savings. Take advantage of that as much as you can. If you haven't refinanced your mortgage, you missed the boat temporarily. Well, what will happen is that we know that the Fed's going to eventually, if they see the economy beginning to go into recession, they're going to lower rates as a way to energize it, and that will give you another opportunity maybe to either reduce the rate of interest on your mortgage or get rid of card debt, etc.
And our next texter writes, if I set up an appointment, would I be working with you or an inexperienced person?
You'd be working directly with one of us. We're the advisors in the office. We do have an excellent support staff that not only assists us in setting appointments, ensuring that all of your paperwork is processed, all of your requests are completed, and that all of your messages get to us, but we are the advisors in the office.
What you hear is what you get.
That's exactly right. And you know what, I think let's take our first break of the hour, and when we get back, we'll be here to answer more questions, not only on the air, but if you decide to come in for a coaching session with one of us.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk on retirement after these messages.
Here's our story. Tony and Denise, brother and sister team, born and raised in good old St. Louis, started in 2009.
More like 1959.
Started our business in 2009 with the idea of buying in bulk in order to save you money.
Our sales staff will educate you on products and features that are most important to you. We can offer top brands like GE at the lowest price every day.
Come by and visit any of our 4 showrooms or shop us online at theappliancediscounters.com, where our savings are your savings.
Big banks have many branches, but where are their roots? Let Royal Banks of Missouri be your community bank. We invite you to stop by one of our 7 locations and experience the advantages of local management, local knowledge, local decision-making, and local service for your financial needs. Call 314-212-1500, Royal Banks of Missouri, investing in St. Louis for over 50 years. Member FDIC and Equal Opportunity Lender.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, hey, everybody. Josh here. And with 11 different varieties, you can have an original Dogtown pizza for every day of the week and still have some left over. From sausage and pepperoni to bacon and veggie, there are plenty of options to choose from, and everyone's a winner. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 11 varieties of Dogtown pizza at any local grocery store. Have you had your Dogtown pizza today?
Your Mizzou Tigers are gearing up to bring home some SEC hardware this year. When it's time for you to bring home the hardware, come to Schnarr's Hardware. Hi, this is Frank Blair, and at Schnarr's Hardware, you'll find everything you need, from nuts and bolts to quality paints and stains to tools, plumbing, and yes, even free. Schnarr's Hardware is in Ladue and Webster Groves, and 24/7 at schnarrs.com. So let's go get that SEC hardware, Tigers. And for your hardware, get it at Schnars.
Jennifer Blome here. Are you retired looking for new social activities? St. Louis Oasis offers health programs, volunteer opportunities, and special interest classes for older adults, all aimed at keeping you connected. Oasis has several locations, including a brand new one in O'Fallon, Illinois. Their classes in art, history, science, religion, cooking, technology, and more. Visit stloasis.org/age smart to learn more.
The official birthplace of the toasted ravioli is
Mama's on the Hill.
And Mama's on the Hill serves the best in town. Mama's has been a mainstay on the Hill for decades and is still a family-run restaurant serving up great Italian food in a fun atmosphere. Open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner, and right in the heart of the Hill at Edwards and Bischoff. Delicious catering and party rooms too.
Mama's on the Hill.
Make reservations at 314-776-3100 and 24/7 at mamasonthehill.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Lang.
And I'm Dr. Katie O'Brien.
Every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3, we'll be on the Big 550 talking about everything regarding dogs, cats, and other domestic animals.
We'll discuss nutrition, training, regular medical checkups, invite special guests, and of course, answer your questions.
So join us every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 with Animal Talk on the Big 550 KTRS.
The Animal Talk of St. Louis.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it's 9:32 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuities sales specialist.
And we are willing, waiting, and wanting to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the, I think we got a few, text line.
Yeah, we do.
We do. And our next texter writes, would it be better for a house to be put in a trust as opposed to just inherited?
So I think this goes back to part of our conversation about taxation at the beginning of the hour when we were talking about inheritances. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize, which is that putting a home, putting assets, putting anything in a trust does not change the taxation to the beneficiaries of the trust. You're still going to owe taxes if it's a taxable event, so you inherit an IRA that ends up in an IRA trust, or if you inherit a home and there are no taxes because you sell the home for fair market value, that's not going to change the taxation of the assets. What a trust really does is change the potential flow of how the assets will be distributed. In addition to that, it can help you protect your beneficiaries from creditors if you are leaving assets inside of a trust for your beneficiaries.
The only other thing is we're really talking about is using a trust will be a probate avoidance mechanism.
One of.
And if you were to use a beneficiary deed, that also, which works very similar to a payable or transfer on death designation, that will help your home also bypass probate. But if you leave it to somebody in your will, it's going through probate.
And I think, just so everyone knows, if you live in St. Louis County, you can go to the St. Louis County Courthouse and request a beneficiary deed. You fill it out by saying, after, if you're the only owner or you're a joint owner with your spouse, after both owners have passed away, this is whom you'd like to leave the house to. You can leave it to as many individuals as you'd like on the beneficiary deed. Fill it out, sign it. You have to record it. So you have to bring that paper back to the St. Louis County Courthouse if you're in St. Louis County, or any local courthouse. So if you're in St. Charles County or you happen to live in Illinois, you'll want to go to your local county courthouse to then have that beneficiary deed recorded. You want to keep a copy of that with the rest of your estate planning documents, and that will naturally transfer the asset without having to go through probate.
Very good. What's our next text question?
Our next texter writes, I just read the book, The Bucket Plan. The concept sounds like your introduction. Can you talk about it a little? My husband is retiring at the age of 62. He will have a pension plus a supplemental pension we can take with us and use for the bucket plan. Your thoughts would be helpful. Thank you.
So just to clarify, we like to use the word bucket because it's a nice visual, but the bucket strategy is really an idea of liquidating assets over time based on a specific liquidation schedule, versus that is not really what our strategy is.
No. What we think about is the primary bucket is the milk money bucket, which is how much assets do we need that we're using a prudent withdrawal rate so that we can fill that gap in the income that you have from your other sources.
If you have one.
If you do have one. Obviously, the other buckets that we think about is an emergency fund bucket.
Right.
We also think about a fund money bucket, which is really excess assets. And then certainly a lot of folks also have a bucket or a part of the emergency fund bucket, which is a short-term capital needs bucket, where they're actually accumulating assets so they can liquidate them. The bucket strategy is one where, as Aaron said, you're really setting up buckets of money over specific time periods to be liquidated.
For your consumption.
And as we talk about, our goal is preserve, protect, and prudently grow. And the way we're able to do that is by staying invested, using a prudent rate of withdrawal strategy, and making sure that the buckets don't run out.
Absolutely.
That's what our goal is.
Buckets and faucets.
There you go.
We're like the plumbers of the financial world.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense. And our next texter writes, does that trust protect the recipient from creditors?
So, yes, the way that the trust protects recipients from creditors is because if an individual inherits an asset and it's not inside of a trust, and they have maybe a judgment against them or some sort of lien, the government or whomever is attempting to collect the debt has access to that money as part of their overall net worth. Whereas if it's inside of a trust, the assets aren't technically theirs yet. So it will protect those assets from creditors. If it happens to be inside of an IRA account, that will also continue on. Because when you inherit an IRA, the IRS has determined that that IRA is not technically yours. It's the undistributed assets of the individual you inherited the money from. So that actually, creditors have access to that as well. If you create a beneficiary IRA trust through your trust, then that asset is still protected from creditors, so it doesn't show up when they're looking for places to collect their debt from you.
And it looks like we have a follow-up. Does that apply also if your house still has a mortgage?
If the house has a mortgage when you pass away, then you are also passing on that additional debt to your beneficiaries. But when they sell the house, it'll liquidate the mortgage debt. You're just changing the balance of what they're inheriting, but it won't change the taxation. They'll pay the house off, and whatever the proceeds are from the sale of the house will still be tax-free depending upon what you sell the house for versus the fair market value.
Right. I mean, the debt is attached to the asset, not the person.
Right. Unfortunately, that does not dispense on death.
Right.
That would be a nice little... No, that was him. Had nothing to do with this.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Dig them up.
Dig them up. All right, we have a few minutes before our next break, and because, we're still waiting for some more text questions from you at 84126, or you're more than ask and you shall receive.
And our next texter, right, good morning. To be clear, the only 100% way to protect your assets in a trust is it must be in an irrevocable trust. If it's just a normal trust, the asset does have some protection. However, creditors can go after anything in the trust.
No.
Well, I think that's
inaccurate.
And I think that we've now crossed over into legal advice. So when you are working with your estate planning attorney, which you absolutely should, when you are setting up your estate planning documents, you will want to get clarity not only as to how those assets will be transferred, how they're protected from probate, which is the primary concern, but secondarily, based on state law, based on federal law, what level of protection do you have when you are passing assets inside of a trust? Definitely want to consult legal advice because we are not attorneys.
My understanding of irrevocable trusts is it can't be changed.
Well, irrevocable trusts are different because what they are doing is actually removing the assets from the current owner of the trust. A lot of times those irrevocable trusts are used in an attempt to shield assets during Medicaid spend before someone gets it to Medicaid spend down to protect assets, or you're protecting assets, for example, if there's you have a special needs child in your family or adult in your family that you want to protect assets for. So there is a difference between an irrevocable and revocable trust, and that's not just a creditor-proofing strategy. That's actually a little bit more involved.
Yes, and one other strategy that irrevocable trusts use are, again, we're talking about taking assets out of the estate of someone's estate. So in many cases, life insurance trusts have been set up in the past before these large,
the estate plan.
Right, because if you own a life insurance policy, even though someone else may be the beneficiary, that asset is considered a part of your taxable estate. So as a way to get you under we call the credit limitations that are there, which is today is at $11.5 million a person, not so bad. People would create these trusts and transfer their life insurance contracts into these so that those proceeds would flow outside of their estate.
And those were much more popular before the estate tax credit was significantly increased, so not as popular of a way to pass assets anymore, or hold your life insurance, rather.
Well, good. So, babe, do you think, let's take
our last break of the hour.
And don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk on retirement after these messages.
Hey, it's John Carney, and I don't want to scare you, and we're still a little way away from Christmas and all. But, that time of year, Santa comes rolling over to the house, lands on the chimney, and comes down with lots of gifts. Of course, if he lands on your chimney and he falls through the roof, I bet he's not going to leave you anything except for a card of his attorney. So it might be a good idea. Make sure your roof's in tip-top shape. And if it's not about Santa, it's about everything that's under that roof. You, your family, your stuff. You know what? Allen Roofing's been taking care of all of those things, probably even for Santa as well. I don't know if they go to the North Pole. But they go lots of places, including your neighborhood. Make sure your roof is safe and sound, and your people as well. Siding, tuck pointing, everything outside, they will do your homework. Find them online at aroofing.net. Ho, ho, ho.
No one has done more for new development projects in St. Louis than my guys, Bob and Steve O'Loughlin. From Westport Plaza to the Cheshire to Union Station and their newest place, The Pitch, perfectly situated next to the new soccer stadium at Union Station. The Pitch is a beautiful athletic club and tavern. Food and drink you can't wait to celebrate. The Pitch is where sports fans go to get the best seats in the house and elevated eats to go with them. Find The Pitch online at thepitch-stl.com.
Neighbors Credit Union is the home to the Smart Account. It's also home to great CD rates, 5.30% APY for 15 months, or how about 4.75% APY for 7-month CDs. At Neighbors Credit Union, your CDs are safe, secure, and insured, up to $500,000 per individual member. NeighborsCU.org. Stop by one of their 8 locations and open up a great CD. Neighbors Credit Union.
Federally insured by NCUA. Additional insurance by ESI.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Martin Kilcoyne for my friends at AAA Home Services. For over 50 years, AAA Home Services has been a leader in selling and servicing American Standard heating and air conditioning. Whether you need a new furnace or air conditioner or simply need service, AAA Home Services can handle all your needs from heating and cooling to plumbing, appliance repair, and electrical repair. For the best deals of the year, call AAA at 636-397-3200. Open 6 days a week. Online at AAASTL.com. Call AAA. We're on our way. Let's go Tigers. Services.
This is Susan.
Hello.
She wants to protect her income bucket from Uncle Sam.
The 3 types of buckets inside my big bucket: taxable income, tax income, and tax-free income.
Ferguson Financial Group in Chesterfield does not provide tax or legal advice, but does specialize in financial products and personalized strategies to emphasize the tax-free income bucket so you can keep more of what you have worked so hard to earn.
Thank you, Ferguson Financial Group.
Find out more at ffgstl.com. That's ffgstl.com. Ferguson Financial Group.
Mizzou basketball on the Big 550 KTRS is powered by Great Bar. This Monday night, Mizzou opens up its season against Arkansas Pine Bluff at 7. Pregame begins at 6:30. Catch all the action right here on the Big 550 KTRS. Presented by Great Bar. For all your electrical and datacom solutions. Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back here on the Big 550 KTRS in our last segment of this hour's show.
First hour.
First hour. Second is, I like to call it the Hour of Power, a Medicare show.
That's right. So cue up your Medicare questions, because at the top of the 10 a.m. hour, we're going to talk about smart choices about your health care.
314-931-5877 or 84126 from the Filling Up text line.
And our next texter writes, not a question, but something we did with our kids after they became employed and still lived at home instead of paying us rent. We had them open up retirement accounts, and anything they would have paid us in rent went into their Roth. That is so great.
Can we move back in, Dad?
No.
I am employed.
No.
No?
No.
I mean, this was nice in a couple of ways. First of all, having the opportunity to create a Roth account is pretty valuable because that money's going to grow tax deferred, hopefully being able to be used tax-free as long as they're over the age of 59 and a half and it's been in there for 5 years, which it will have been by that time.
Sure,
if
they ever move out.
And then secondly, since the maximum contribution this year is $6,500, that's like less than $500 a month in rent.
And we don't even know. They could have a 401k option where they could dump $23,000 in
Oh,
there.
my God.
And
are you sure we can't move back in?
It's just teaching them great saving habits, and once they become used to seeing their quarterly statements, it's just going to get them in the mindset of I need to fund my retirement, I need to save.
Sorry, I'm telling you, half the parents out there are thinking they'll never leave.
Well, Mom
right?
said I can move back in.
Yeah,
intergenerational living is a thing now.
Right.
Your mom said you could move back in.
And no rent, and I will put the money in a Roth.
Beautiful. And we can also put in a dumbwaiter to send food down to you and all that kind of
Oh, my
stuff.
gosh, this sounds fantastic.
This is
Let's do this.
We'll have to kill your cat first.
I don't know it.
Meow.
You know what? While we're waiting for your texts at 84126 and your phone calls at 314-931-5877, why don't we talk a little bit about David?
Let's. And David emailed us, and David writes, I am 63. I want to retire this coming summer. I plan on calling your office to arrange a coaching session with you and Aaron to see if I am a rock star. I have been listening to the show for many years, and I should have come in sooner. I am so close to retirement. Should I move my funds out of the stock market and into cash to protect those gains?
That was like this. That was like the quiet version of the. Well, in summer. That's 6, 7. That's 8 months from now. I mean, it's new. It's soon. That's like senioritis time, ready to retire, see the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. But
at 63, David may be alive for 25 more years.
Or more. He could be retired for longer than he was working, which would be fabulous, right?
You know what it took to get you here. Don't run away.
That's like a Rocky quote, isn't it?
Exactly.
Remember what it took to get you here.
That's right.
You use not only the power of the market with your contributions and hopefully contributions from your employer over time, but, you use the same principles of living within your means. So we're going to take all of that, your discipline, and then also your disciplined investing into retirement.
And what's interesting is what will happen here is that your game plan for cash flow is really going to be determined by what your income flows are. We'll be able to then work backwards to figure out how much capital we need for the milk money. And what that will then do is, based on that percentage of your total assets, that really should tell us what your mix is going to look like.
Right. So, the first thing is we have to figure out how much you're spending every month. What are your outflows,
right,
as you'd like to say. Then we want to determine what are your monthly inflows. David, do you happen to have access to a pension option? Is that your only option? Do you have a lump sum option available to you? Secondarily, what is your Social Security benefit?
Are you going to work?
Are you going to work in retirement, maybe a part-time job, something along those lines? Do you have rental income that that you consider to be consistent enough that you would call that income? You'd count on that income every year.
And that should really lead us into discussing what options we have in terms of claiming Social Security benefits. If you're going to work and maybe you're going to earn too much money, do we put this off, or do we need to take it right away? Or is it important that we take it right away? David hasn't told us at this moment whether he is single or married. That will have a great influence on his Social Security claiming strategy or his health.
And not to deviate too far, but I had a coaching session just yesterday with a current client that is scheduling to retire January 31st, so at the very beginning of next year. And we had this exact conversation because he is 64 years old. So he still has that issue with the Social Security take-back if he earns too much money in retirement. At 64, he's ready to be done with his more than 9-to-5 job, but he wants to do something. So we had a pretty extensive conversation about, should you start Social Security right away or do we wait? And in that particular instance, it made a lot of sense to say, let's hold off, because he's currently, the man hasn't even fully retired yet, and he was already applying for part-time jobs for next year. So it's pretty clear that he's probably going to have some income. We want to figure out how much you're going to work, what is that going to be, because the worst thing that you can do is shoot yourself in the foot by earning too much money over that income limitation, which under normal retirement age for an individual, how much can you earn before there is a take back on your Social Security?
Under normal retirement age, Social Security takes back $1 for every 2 that you earn over $21,240.
And that's for this year, so I'm sure the IRS, as they just released numbers for retirement plan contributions, are going to do a cost of living adjustment on Social Security, so that number will probably rise a little bit next year. But it went from 19.5 to 21 over the last 2 years, so it's probably not going to be monumental, but you do want to keep that number in mind while you're working. If you're going to claim Social Security, now the year you turn normal retirement age, what happens?
The year you turn normal retirement age, Social Security takes back $1 for every 3 that you earn over $56,520.
And then when you reach that golden age of your normal retirement age, so it could be between 66 and 8 months and 67 years old for individuals that are in the retirement phase right now, you can earn as much as you like.
That's a beautiful thing.
That's right. And I think the other big deal here is to remind folks that whatever age you begin to collect Social Security, you may get cost of living adjustments on top of that, but even if you're working,
maybe you don't need to take it.
Well, not only that, but you're stuck there.
Right.
So if you're in a situation where, in this case with David, if he's elected a Social Security benefit before normal retirement age, he's earning over the $21,820, then he's giving back. Well, he's stuck there all the way through. He doesn't
get an increase in his benefit over time.
Exactly. He's not increasing based on his age. So these are important things to consider. At the same time, we also need to figure out what's going to be his game plan for health insurance, both before he retires and then afterwards. Is he going to be taking COBRA? Is he going to be electing going on to the
Marketplace?
Thank you, the Marketplace plan, and then what's the appropriate time for him to jump on to Medicare?
Right, and this is an important thing to consider because since there is that gap, are we going to try to moderate David's income to help him secure a subsidy through the Affordable Care Act on the marketplace to reduce those premiums every month? The interesting thing about the Affordable Care Act is that it does not consider net worth. It only considers taxable income. So if you're someone that is headed towards retirement, you're under 65 years old, so you're going to have to supplement. You're going to have to pay relatively high premiums either through COBRA or individual insurance. You may want to consult with a professional to talk about, are there some ways that you can moderate your income for a protracted amount of time, meaning living off of savings, or potentially if David decides that he isn't going to work, maybe electing Social Security makes sense because that's tax preferred. No more than 85% of it is going to be taxable to you, which automatically reduces your taxable income significantly. So there are a lot of different options here to help create either some savings for David or just help structure till we get to Medicare eligibility.
And the last thing we need to worry about for David is, what capital in cash needs to be held for emergencies and fund consumptions. His last car. There's a certain amount of planning. Does he have a remodel coming up? Does he want to put a new roof on that? Is there a capital expenditure that we know that's out there that we need to plan for?
That's a really great point. I mean, once we've determined what your monthly income need is, we kind of think about that as, what does it take to run the business of David's life on a monthly basis? Mortgage payments, food, gas, fun. But then we also want to consider in it above and beyond that, have you built up an emergency fund? For a lot of individuals that have worked for an employer that has employer-based retirement plan, 401k, 457, 403b, you've spent a lot of time saving into that. So you may not have created some additional savings elsewhere. Is that something that we want to focus on? So you have an emergency bucket of money that is no longer taxable that you can get at very easily, at the local bank or credit union. And then in addition to that, not only fund consumption, but, there are things that happen. We know we're going to have to replace the roof in 5 years. I want to deal with the backyard. That's going to be expensive. Planning out when you plan to make larger capital consumption events will help us plan to have the cash flow available to you so you feel comfortable spending the money you already plan to spend. You don't have to worry about market fluctuations or concerns about your long-term game plan.
And Aaron, as you said earlier, having a time horizon with a client that on average we think is going to run between 25 and 30 years, we know that we're going to have to stay invested. So investing and staying invested in a way that not only meets your goals, but also your risk tolerance is extremely important. And at the end of the day, this is fun for us.
Yes.
And we hope and we try to make it fun for you as well, to give you the confidence that you can retire, you can stay retired, and at the same time then be able to do all the things that you want to do. That's what retirement planning is all about. We do have about 2 minutes left. So.
And we've got one more text question to go.
See if we can't square this away. Hello, I'm at 57. I have a work-sponsored Roth IRA for several years. Because of the lack of options, I've considered starting a new Roth outside of work. Will I still need to wait 5 years before I can access those funds if I retire at 60?
So you actually have I was thinking about this while I was waiting for you to read the text, Rob, which was you might have a unique opportunity here. If you really don't love the options at your Roth sponsored by work, if you open up a Roth IRA, start making contributions to it Monday, the clock will start on the 5 years on that Roth account. If you want access to the Roth funds at 60 years old when you retire, just take direct distributions from your Roth 401k account at work. And then you'll only have to wait 2 years. You can roll all of that Roth 401k into your previously created individual Roth account, and you'll be able to access those funds sooner because as you're contributing to that Roth now, when you roll it into a Roth IRA, that's when the clock starts.
That's a technical question. Good answer, honey.
Thanks.
I like that.
Thought it was, but this only really makes sense if you really don't like the Roth options at work because you're going to be in a lower cost environment in your Roth 401k than you will be with an individual Roth. Also, you have a higher contribution limit with your Roth 401k at work than you do.
That's almost triple.
Right. So
especially with catch-up, I think with catch-up provisions, it's now $30,000, $30,500 for
right.
the Roth 401ks.
So you really just want to keep all of those things in mind, because generally we think the best place to invest is through work. But if you're not in love with those options, then you've got a really good opportunity here.
And don't touch that dial. We'll be back for hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement right after the message.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to our second hour of Straight Talk on Retirement. And for our regular listeners, you all know that it is now time for our Smart Choices About Your Healthcare segment. And because we're just right in the middle of open enrollment, we're going to continue our conversation about things we've seen during this open enrollment season. You still have until December 7th to consider changes for the 2024 plan year. So that means if you haven't gotten around to having a conversation with the individual that sold you your Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage plan, or you haven't had a chance to chat with Frank, our Medicare coach in the office, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office, 314-863-0008, or hit that Contact Us button on our website, jblfinancial.com, and say, I want to chat with Frank about Medicare. But Mark came in this past week, and he already chatted with Frank.
And Mark came into the office for an appointment this week. He had been enrolled in Medicare for several years, but this was the first time seeking our advice on his Medicare benefits. And Mark is on Aetna Elite PPO plan and has been for the past 4 years. He joined the first year it was available as the first zero premium PPO on the market in St. Louis.
He uses his plan a lot, he told us. Unfortunately, Mark was diagnosed with cancer in 2022 rather, and it caused him to hit his maximum out of pocket that year. Now, this year, he's already spent $1,800 on healthcare expenses. You know, he's in remission now, luckily, but he still has some ongoing medical expenses that he has to deal with, and so far the tally's about $1,800 out of pocket.
And, you know, Mark wanted to know, is the PPO still the best option for him? When he joined, Aetna was the only plan offering a zero premium PPO, which he liked, but based on his history, is there something better?
So this is a great question, and I would say, you know, Mark didn't originally sign up with us when Aetna released that zero premium PPO, but it was exciting when it came on the market. It had a low maximum out of pocket, and it gave people a lot of it gave people access to a PPO plan without having to pay a monthly premium. Prior to that, you had a premium associated with Medicare Advantage plans that were PPO styled. But Mark's really a great example of people's changing healthcare needs and being able to meet those changing healthcare needs with the changing Medicare Advantage plans. And not only that, just with your changing healthcare, can we continue to meet your needs with Medicare Advantage plans? They don't necessarily have to change if you change. So, you know, he was able to take advantage of that PPO for several years, but now it seems like maybe it's not working to his advantage anymore. So are there other options? You know, we took a look because Aetna has the largest network in the Missouri and the Illinois area. So we thought, let's start with Aetna. We took a look at his prescriptions and his physicians and found that every single physician Mark was seeing was in Aetna's HMO network. And this will be true for many of you. So if you happen to be using, and this is true across multiple health plans too. So let's say you are using the Aetna PPO or you are using the United Healthcare PPO. There is generally an 80% overlap between the in-network physicians with the HMO as with the PPO. So,
honey, I was going to ask a question.
Sure.
I know that this year, or maybe it was last year, there was a significant liberalization in the Aetna HMO.
Yes, so actually that was COVID year. The year of COVID, almost every plan, Aetna and United, so the major carriers and Anthem, all lifted the referral requirement for their HMOs. So although we found the referral requirement to be not so much a requirement, but something that happens naturally during the course of, your access to health care, they've completely lifted that. So what it means is you can go see your specialist without calling the primary first to request that referral. You can locate your own specialist as long as they're in network with that HMO and make your appointment. You don't need to do any other legwork than that, which is really nice. And the reason that a lot of these health plans ended up lifting their referral restrictions is that most doctors now are referring inside of the hospital system that they work. So if you happen to have an SSM doctor, most likely he'll be referring or she'll be referring you to another SSM doctor. So all of your medical records are already stored at SSM or at BJC. So that piece where the specialist would send your medical records back to the primary so they could house everything all in one place really has been lifted. Also, the fact that so many people now have HMO-style plans, it was really putting a lot of pressure on the administrative side of these hospitals. And I think that was part of their negotiation over time to say, let's lift these referral restrictions. Everybody's in network.
Well, in Mark's case, by moving from the HMO, which had his doctors,
you mean from the PPO
which
to
had
the HMO,
etc., was a significant improvement in many areas, right?
Well, yep, that's right.
Absolutely. In the elite, just moving from the elite PPO to the HMO, the elite has a $500 deductible and a $4,500 max out of pocket. The HMO has no deductible and a $2,400 max out of pocket. So right off the bat, no deductible and a $2,100 savings as far as, hitting your max out of pocket.
And just to be clear on for many of you that might be using the Elite PPO that has that deductible, that's for that's for in-hospital procedures. That's also for in-hospital stays. That $500 deductible doesn't apply to your normal copay. So you're going to the specialist or you have outpatient procedure. You're not going to hit that deductible, or you're not going to run into that deductible. But to have it completely lifted, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to be straight co-pays or co-insurance with the HMO-style plan. The extra benefits are also significantly better with the HMO-style plan than they are with a PPO-style plan.
The Elite PPO-style plan gives you $1,000 in dental coverage, whereas the HMO gives you $3,250 for dental.
So you're automatically going to take $2,250 from the insurance company that you didn't have access to. So if Mark maxes out on those dental benefits next year, he uses every single dollar, he'll have access to $2,200 more than he would have under the Elite plan, which is just in addition to that extra savings on the maximum out of pocket.
Should really call the HMO the Elite plan.
It is Elite.
In this
example, exactly.
The Elite PPO plan, it provides $280 in vision coverage, whereas the HMO has still got them beat at $405.
So really, hopefully what this is showing everyone is that even if you are using the same insurance company, the benefits can be significantly different under these plans. Now, if Mark was someone that wasn't using his plan very frequently and he didn't care about the dental, didn't care about the vision, then maybe making the switch is paperwork he doesn't need to deal with. But we know that over the last few years, Mark's had higher usage years. He's already headed towards, spending $1,800 so far this year. Well, why don't we cap his expenses next year at no more than $2,400, put more money back into his pocket with extra benefits, dental, vision, and we haven't even gotten to some of the other benefits like the over-the-counter benefit, which is, $75 with the Elite plan on every quarter versus $120 a quarter with the HMO plan. And, the over-the-counter benefit, that's where you're able to access basically things that you don't get behind the prescription counter. So you're in the pharmacy section of CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, toothpaste, Band-Aids, blood pressure cuffs, surgical gloves if you needed those
Advil.
For some reason, Advil, sinus medication, all things like that. You're going to be
Robitussin.
You'll be able to use Aetna's money, not your own, to stock up. I've actually heard, just yesterday, one of the clients was mentioning to me that he doesn't know What a problem to have. He doesn't know how him and his wife are going to spend the $240 they have combined per quarter with these extra benefits. So what they have done is they buy the stuff they like with the over-the-counter benefit each quarter, and then balance, they just buy a bunch of toothpaste or a bunch of hand soaps, and they donate them.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that nice? So Aetna is actually being charitable through its members. They don't even know it. But so sometimes these plans are offering you more benefits that you can even use.
I think that I'm hoping that the takeaway here is it pays to look. And you can be happy with your plan, but maybe you can be a little happier.
Absolutely. And you know what? We've got our first text question. I'm shocked that the text line hasn't filled up yet. If you have any Medicare questions, any open enrollment questions, any health insurance questions, now is a great time to ask. Just give us a call, 314-931-5877, or text us at 84126 on the text line.
Before we get to the text question, just want to make mention that the Elite PPO only has a $600 fitness allowance, whereas the HMO doubled that, $1,200. I mean, that's $100 a month towards a gym membership. Like, that's some of the highest.
Not just a gym membership.
Right, you're
towards
at a high end.
Towards.
You're at a very high end facility at $100 a month. It's just amazing.
You can buy a total gym for that.
Can you?
Yes.
For $100. Well, remember that. So the fitness allowance is different from Silver Sneakers. If you're using Aetna, you still have access to Silver Sneakers, which gives you a no-cost gym membership at participating gyms. The fitness allowance is going to give you access. You could purchase gym equipment. You can pay for greens fees if you'd like. You can pay for workout classes if they're not included in your base membership. You can even buy sneakers or other, orthotics, anything that's fitness, pickleball equipment. You can buy all kinds of things with that fitness allowance, and it works like a reimbursement. So you save your receipt, and if you're working with someone like Frank, he's going to provide that reimbursement form to you, so you don't have to go searching for it. You'll fill that out, and then Aetna will reimburse you. The $1,200 is for the year. So if you only want to fill it out once, you can do it at the end of the year with all of your receipts. Or if you want to be reimbursed on a rolling basis, you'll just send each receipt in with your reimbursement form, and Aetna will send you a check up to $1,200.
You could buy a nice treadmill or elliptical for $1,200.
Oh, my gosh, or at least put a big dent in whatever you're looking to buy.
And,
exactly.
The last benefit we'll get into is the HMO offers a copay card. You can get this $200 a quarter, so $800 for the year.
So the really cool thing about this is I don't look at this as just $800 a quarter. I think of this as almost $1,600 because it's double in my mind. Aetna's going to give you $200 a quarter to spend on copays. This is anything medically related except for prescription. So visits to the doctor, lab and x-rays. If you have to do physical therapy, if you have an inpatient procedure that costs money for you, you are going to be able to use your copay card. But every dollar you spend still goes against your maximum out of pocket. So the max is $2,400. You have to get to zero. So if you could think about it, either emptying the bucket or filling it up, you have to get to $2,400 or you have to get to zero in order for Aetna to start paying 100% for you. So every dollar you spend, the first $200 a quarter, Aetna's going to pay for, and they're going to reduce your maximum out of pocket by $200 if you spent the full $200. So to me, that's almost double the money.
So you, in essence, you have a $1,600 out of pocket.
Exactly. You have a $1,600 out of pocket that you're responsible for. Aetna's going to cover the first $800 for you out of their pocket, which is just incredible.
Well, what's nice is we figured this out. And so have many of our listeners. That's why we're the number one people writing this stuff in the state.
Yes, we are.
And we'd love to, obviously, we'd love to hear from you because the folks we're helping every single week is our listeners. 314-863-0008. Give us a call or send us an email. Franklin@jblfinancial.com.
Let's get to a few of those texts.
And our first texter says, is an echocardiogram considered a diagnostic service or a diagnostic radiology service? The first is a $30 copay, and the second is a $75 copay in 2024 per Aetna. Thanks in advance. You're welcome.
This, the echocardiogram should be considered a diagnostic service, not necessarily a diagnostics radiological service. You might want to just call and confirm with the doctor's office how they're going to code it. However, as the texter noted, they are both covered, just at varying amounts. And since you are if you are using the Aetna HMO policy, you can use your copay card, which you're going to receive with your new member card, to pay for that echocardiogram copay.
You know, if you do that, then you got reimbursed from Aetna. And they basically, you can go out and buy a couple of boxes of golf balls.
Not to mention the $1,200 you're going to get back for when they pay for the golf balls for you.
Or the greens fee.
Right.
Can you buy clubs with that?
I mean,
it's equipment. Why wouldn't you be?
Actually, they don't. I asked Frank about that. He said that they don't cover clubs, but when you reimburse yourself for other stuff, then you've got the money to buy new.
Maybe golf clubs are a little too far outside of the gym equipment. But you know what? Since you're going to be reimbursed for other things, it certainly doesn't hurt for you to submit any of your receipts, because since this is a brand new benefit, none of us are exactly sure what falls outside of the scope. So you might as well submit that. The worst they can say is no, and you can just submit a different bill for something else.
You might get a claims processor that's an avid golfer. You might get lucky. Slide under the radar screen.
You know,
right?
Aetna sometimes, and many of the insurance companies, not just Aetna, reserve the right to change how they administer their benefits. So, for example, the dental benefit, over the course of the last 10 years, especially with Aetna, this has transformed. When I first started it was called the Coventry Gold Advantage Plan 10 years ago, because Coventry was purchased by Aetna about 8 years ago. It was a $200 a year benefit for dental, and you had to use an in-network dentist. Nobody used the benefit. So then over time, they slowly transformed the benefit, increasing the amount of money that you could have and eventually getting rid of the dental network. Then they would say, we're going to reimburse you 50% per service up to a certain amount. Well, they found the administration on that was really difficult, especially during COVID, so they just started reimbursing at 100% up to whatever the dental allowance was for that year. So when a new benefit is released, it makes sense that you're not pushing the envelope. The worst they can do is say no to your request, and then you know for the future. So that never hurts to test.
And our next texter writes, with Aetna Gold HMO, don't you have to pay the dental up front? Then if covered, you will be reimbursed. Is that correct?
That is correct. Because there is no dental network, the dentists do want to be paid up front, but I've never seen a dental claim be denied before, for as long as it's a covered service. So the only things that aren't covered under the Aetna dental, I believe, are like veneers. So you'll just want to double check to make sure that you'll get your reimbursement. But I'm guessing, just like with most dental services, you're getting it done if you're going to get reimbursed for it or not, because there's either pain or issues going on. So continue to submit those reimbursements. The reason that they do it on a reimbursement basis is because they have taken the dentist's office out of the claims process for you, which is another reason why they're able to increase the benefit, because they've decreased the administrative cost. They shifted that back to you, essentially.
You know, I'm hoping that we have a little time left in the show later. I can tell a veneer story.
I did not have access to $3,250 for my dental benefit when I was so viciously attacked by a bath mat and a bench and a stone bench in a shower. My face, it all connected. It was terrible.
We'll fill in that story a little bit.
Are you happy with your smile? I was. Past tense.
Right. Well, when you get your front tooth knocked out.
Oh, that's terrible.
On Christmas Eve.
To quote my dad, it's not knocked out, it's just cracked in half. Okay.
Well, it looked like you were ready to start a movie career after that, but it's okay.
Really nice.
Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Baby, it's 24 after the hour. We want to take our first break?
Let's take our first break of the hour because we have to come back to more of your text questions. Don't forget to text in whatever is on your mind, 84126 from the text line.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Oh, my gosh. How long have we known each other now?
Doesn't seem like long enough.
No, but like a year, and we immediately just kind of...
Instant bond.
Yes.
Instant bond.
And it's so much fun because every Wednesday you come into the studio and we talk about, what you're really good at, picking pizza joints.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say real estate, but you're right. The pizza thing is really top-notch for me.
You're pretty good at that real estate thing, too.
Yeah.
And now that I can say I've experienced it firsthand because you helped my mom and dad.
Sure did.
Buy a lake house.
Yep.
They might love you more than they love me at this point.
I don't think that's possible. No one could love me more. You know that.
Well, that's probably true. But this is what everybody else can experience, too, when they work with your team at Lauren Risley Realty. Well, we love you. We love everything that Lauren Risley Realty does, and I think you guys will, too. You can learn more. Call Lauren Risley Realty at 314-775-0684. You can also email hello@laurenrisleyrealty.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
1026 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Hour 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. We're here to answer your questions about Medicare, health care, or anything else that you care about. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126.
And the next texter writes, beginning in January 2024, Lifetime Fitness members who receive their membership through Medicare benefits will be able to use the clubs from 9 to 3 and after 2 on Saturday and all day Sunday. Well, I can say that
banker's hours.
You really don't want those are beautiful hours to be, at the facility because you'll have the whole place to yourself.
So if you have access to Lifetime Fitness through Renew Active, which is United Healthcare's version of Silver Sneakers, then you're going to have these restrictions. However, let's say that you're using that Aetna Gold HMO that we were just talking about. You can apply. I think they'll give it to you. You can sign up for a gym membership with Lifetime Fitness and use the reimbursement to pay the majority of your membership. I think it's $180 for the Lifetime Fitness out in Chesterfield and $220 or so for the Lifetime Fitness that's in Frontenac. You can use your $1,200 reimbursement through the Aetna Gold plan to pay for your gym membership, and then you won't be restricted to those hours if you want to work out when you want to work out, not when they want to tell you to work out.
That's very, very cool.
Right. So there's a lot of tricks, but if you have access to Lifetime through Renew Active, you don't have the $1,200 fitness reimbursement because United's not offering that. But anyway.
It's just great that they offer that kind of capital for a fitness membership. I mean, that's really, above and beyond. Or even equipment. It's just remarkable. And our next texter writes, I am so lost with the Marketplace website. The website says my provider is not for a certain plan, but my provider says yes. So I'm just going to go to my provider for a consultation on plan choosing. Is the Marketplace website run by the government? If so, that explains everything.
So the Marketplace, healthcare.gov, is a government website. However, all of the plans feed information based on contracts that they've signed with the insurance companies to update the network options. I will just say this. You need to be very careful about electing a plan that is not that your provider is not reflected as in-network through the plan's site, because unless your doctor is going to give you some sort of loophole, which I've never heard of before, and pay for your care as if it were in-network or give you that discount, then you're taking the risk of ending up in a plan that doesn't cover your physicians. So I would just be very clear with them that this plan, absolutely, we're in network. They can show you somewhere in writing that that is the case. In some instances, especially with network issues, the plans are signing contract providers all the way up until open enrollment begins. So those network options that are accessible online might not have updated. So you might want to wait a few days just so you get clarity through the government website or through the plan's website itself that your provider is in network, or you're going to get reassurance in writing from your provider that they're going to provide you in-network benefits with a plan that you can't prove they're in network for.
Right, because the whole part of the contracting is that you have a hold harmless provision when you use providers that you're going to the provider has agreed to accept the insurance company reimbursement that they've contractually agreed to, and that you aren't subject to any overcharges for.
Right.
And our next texter writes, could you please talk about insulins being capped at $35 a month? Which insulins are capped?
I can't even name all the insulins that are capped, because almost every insulin is capped at a $35 a month copay based on your usage. So you want to make sure that you have selected either a standalone prescription drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan that has a formulary that includes your insulin. So as long as your insulin is included on the formulary with the plan that you have chosen, you will see, if you're using Medicare.gov to do your research, that copay is $35. If it shows up as anything more than $35, that means that insulin is not covered in the formulary for you, so you want to choose a different plan. Or if you're working with someone like Frank, he's going to be able to make sure that the insulin that you use is in the plan that you choose, so you get the benefit of the $35 a month copay.
Should always be working with someone like Frank.
That's right, and you know how you work with Frank? You send him an email, franklin@jblfinancial.com. Log on to our website, jblfinancial.com, hit the Contact Us button, or if you want, call the office, 314-863-0008, and we'll get you set up with a personalized coaching session with Frank to talk about your Medicare needs.
And our next texter writes, is the Mercy Network available in the Aetna HMO?
The Mercy Network is available. The former Luke's Hospital System is in the network. BGC physicians are in the network. Every major hospital system in St. Louis and in Illinois is in the Aetna Gold Advantage HMO network. Now, each physician you'll want to double check because they don't all contract together all the time. However, the hospital system itself is in the network for you.
You can always contact your physician's office and ask them, what plans do you participate in? They'll be happy to tell you.
And you'll want to be specific with that. What Medicare Advantage plans do you accept? Because if you call and say, do you take Aetna, they may say yes. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the plan that you have or it's even a Medicare plan. So it really does depend. You want to be as specific as possible with the provider so you get the most specific answer.
Right, and our next texter writes, hi guys, I just turned 69 in August, and I'm thinking I will apply for Social Security in February. I thought I read there is a 4-month, quote-unquote, look-back period, so my benefit would be based on 4 months back? Thanks.
No, thank the Lord. So, well, here's what you're referring to, which is when you log on to SSA.gov and you are planning to elect your Social Security benefit, the soonest that you can elect is 3 months prior to when you would like your benefit to begin. However, they are going to give you the option to backdate your Social Security benefit by up to 4 months, which means if you wanted back pay for 4 months, they're going to be willing to do that for you. However, your benefit is going to be reduced by 0.66% times 4. What's that number? Anybody?
2.4%.
Almost 3. Yeah, it's almost.
So by about 3%, the benefit that you would be claiming at 69 and 5 months is going to be reduced by about 3% because they're going to give you the back pay for 4 months, but assume that but that's where you're going to lock your benefit in. So your actual benefit is calculated on the top 40 covered quarters, which is your top 10 earnings years, no matter when you elect your benefit.
So the answer is
yes-ish.
Forget about it.
Right.
Exactly.
And our next texter writes, I am turning 65 in November and will be leaving my company's health care plan. Does it make sense to elect COBRA coverage after I leave, or should I enroll in Medicare? Sir, you should enroll in Medicare.
If you've learned one thing.
These Medicare Advantage plans are great.
Well, it's
going to be a lot less expensive than COBRA coverage.
Well, also it's a COBRA eligibility, too. You're truly not eligible for COBRA if you have other coverage available to you.
Right. So the federal government has made it a legal requirement that if you are eligible for if you are enrolled in a group health insurance plan that has COBRA option available to you, they're going to have to send you the COBRA notification in the mail. But that doesn't mean it applies to you. So, for example, like our texter said, he's turning 65 this month. November 1st, he was eligible for Medicare. You're only eligible to elect your COBRA benefit without any issues if you don't have access to other qualified coverage. Medicare is considered qualified coverage, so you want to elect that benefit. Now, if you took COBRA, let's say, because you didn't know that, no one's coming to take you away and throw you in jail. All your claims are still going to be paid. But like Rob said, oh my gosh, you want Medicare, the benefits are great. It's going to be less expensive most likely. But in addition to that, you're going to disturb your enrollment period. So right now, our texter has his initial election period available to him, which is 3 months prior to the month he turns 65, the month he turns 65, and 3 months following. There's an election hierarchy with Medicare. That's the number one election period. So you're going to take that. If you don't use your election period and you need Medicare, when it's time to elect Medicare, Medicare is not going to recognize COBRA as qualified coverage. So 18 months from now, when our texter's Medicare COBRA runs out and he attempts to elect Medicare coverage, he's going to be one of those people that's not only penalized for not having taken Medicare when he should have, because he's not on group health insurance anymore. He's using the plan, but he's not part of the group. And secondly, he's not going to be able to elect exactly when he wants and have his benefit begin when he wants. He's going to have to use the Medicare Part B enrollment period, which is January through March, and his benefit won't actually start until July. So,
yikes.
Don't do that. Just elect your Medicare benefits.
What you do is pick up the phone, give Frank a call, 314-863-0008. This is definitely a time to stay away from the HR department.
Right.
And to call an expert with somebody in the Medicare side.
Right. Your HR department is an expert in your employee benefits. They're not required to be experts in what you do once you leave the plan, which when you retire or if you leave your job, they're no longer experts in your health care coverage or the other benefits that you might have access to. So you definitely want to work with someone that can help guide you and also compare for you what the benefits are of either electing your Medicare coverage or if you're someone under 65 and you're comparing COBRA to individual coverage.
Yeah, and again, the cool part is that we are assisting those, we'll call it non-open enrollment clients, people going and being eligible for Medicare before the open enrollment period. Every single month.
Well, we help people every single month that are turning 65, that are retiring, and even during open enrollment, you might have an election period. For example, I know that we have a client that's retiring this month. They're going to be eligible for a special election period to have their Medicare benefits begin December 1st. They don't have to wait until January 1st. Just because we're in open enrollment doesn't mean that you don't have an election period that's going to get you access to your coverage faster. I know we're already in November, so there's only 1 month left. But you'll also be able to work with somebody that knows about the election periods, knows which one to select for you, so your benefits begin when you need them to.
And our last texter writes, I have a Medicare Advantage plan. I'm planning on taking my grandkids on a month-long vacation in Disneyland.
What? A month in Disney World?
It's awesome.
They may be broke. They may never be able to come back.
I hope they have the Aetna plan.
My wife asked me, if one of us needs medical attention, will we be covered being we are out of the service area?
So if you elect...
Is that like obesity assistance or something?
What?
Well, after you're at the Magic Kingdom for like a month, you're going to be like 800 pounds.
All that walking, though.
It's all that junk food.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Well, you know what's great is I saw some of our clients brought in, not this texter, I don't think, because he hasn't gone on his month-long trip, but a couple of other clients brought their grandchildren down to Disney, and all the pictures are either little babe is sleeping or shoving food into their mouth. And it reminded me of all the pictures of me at Disney World, either sleeping or eating. Those were the only two. I don't think I was on any rides.
Yeah, we didn't take the picture when Mickey poked you in the eye, and I had to make up a song about Mickey.
Yeah, I did. I was actually brutally attacked by Mickey. He tried to give me a hug and poked me in the eye. That's real.
Must be hot in those uniforms. I always think that.
So that's an excuse to take it out on a small child?
It could be.
Got me right in the face.
Even one with a mouth as big as yours, honey, yes.
I'm sure I made everyone feel pretty bad, too. There was tears.
Could you imagine, like, when those guys are sitting at the break table just talking about their day? Like, they got the big hat off.
And they got the still costume on. To get back to the texter's question, if you're using a plan that has a national network like Aetna, like Anthem, like United Healthcare, not only are you going to have access to urgent care and ER care when you're out of the Missouri-Illinois area, but if you decided that you were not interested in seeing Mickey and you wanted to go see the dermatologist instead, you were tired of the grandkids, you've been with them for a month already, if you choose it in-network, so a physician that accepts Aetna, you can actually go see doctors in other states if you'd like. So you have a lot of flexibility, even with the HMO-style plans. It's pretty cool.
And our next texter writes, I purchased a dental plan last year on the marketplace. After $250 in yearly premium, the plan paid only $6 for my routine cleaning. Not a wise choice on my part.
Man, dental benefits, unless you're on Medicare, are not what they used to be. And that is true, I think, across the board for most people, even if you have group health insurance and access to dental there. So you definitely want to consider self-funding dental potentially, meaning you're just going to save a few dollars for those cleanings every year. I also know that many dentists, because dental isn't what it used to be, have created either their own pricing structures, their own payment plans, or even their own quote-unquote insurance through the dentist themselves. So it might be time to shop around potentially for a dentist that either has favorable pricing or some other benefits that are available to you, so you don't have to pay the insurance company for benefits that either you're not using, you can't access, or they're not paying very well.
Yeah, a dentist I used to go to in New York had something very similar to that, where you paid a flat fee for the year. It was like $150, and you just got so much off every procedure, and they gave you the procedure schedule, price schedule, so you were able to see before you took part in it what your savings would be.
Now, just as a question, were you able to sign up for that at any point during the year?
Yes.
So, see, now that's a pretty cool thing, which is if you don't need access to the discounts quite yet, don't pay for them. But when you realize, hey, I've got a big procedure coming up, I owe $100 for the membership, quote unquote, but it's going to be a $1,500 procedure, and you get 10% off, you automatically got $50 back.
No, it definitely, if you didn't have access to dental insurance, it was a way of mitigating some of those costs.
One other thing I just would input here is that imagine coupling this whole concept with a health savings account.
Oh, my God.
God, just maximizing things.
Well, you're pre-funding a plan that you don't have on a pre-tax basis, and then when you incur those charges, what happens is you can reimburse yourself with your own money tax-free.
Right.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Are you ready to read the next text question?
I am.
All right.
And our next texter writes, my dad is 88. He was a letter carrier for 48 years. He continues to have federal BCBS.
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
That is offered for letter carriers. If he ever had to change to Medicare, would he be fined?
No. Luckily, no fines. Medicare considers federal Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage to be qualified coverage. So if he wanted to make a switch, which most of the time people don't, if you have access to that federal policy. But in the event that he did want to make a change, then Medicare is going to recognize that coverage is considered to be credible.
It sounds credible, and I think we may have to take our last break of the hour, don't you think?
I think so.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
I'm Farmer Dave, and here's my good friend and owner of MasterCars Inc., Alex Rosenberger, with today's hot MasterCars Inc. deals.
Thanks, Farmer Dave. We're pretty excited as we go into fall here. This is truly Corvette season and convertible season in the St. Louis area. Every Corvette we have, every vehicle we have in stock is handpicked by myself. Everything's auto-check certified. We also purchase vehicles. We're always looking for Corvettes, Vipers, Hellcats, anything unique, interesting, late model, clean, low miles, classics, you name it. If it's something special, we want to know about it. We have excellent financing available. Believe it or not, there's still some great interest rates out there, and we work hard to make sure we do get you the best term and rate. Easy approvals. Jump on our site, mastercarsinc.com, hit the finance button, and get pre-approved.
So rev that motor and point your car in the direction of MasterCars Inc. and buy or sell today. 4100 Namioki Road in Granite City, or visit mastercarsinc.com to get more details. That's mastercarsinc.com.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back with our last segment of Straight Talk on Retirement. It's 10:46 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We're here to answer your questions, which we've been doing all morning, and it really makes it fun.
Yes, it does. So if you have a question, we need to get it answered for you. So
314-931-5877, or from the hot and heavy text line today, 84126.
It's not so hot. It's not so heavy. I think we've
calm.
beaten it down into compliance.
Well, I think that's interesting because I happen to have received.
You received.
I received from one of our listeners a question this morning. She said, Jeff, Aaron is doing so well.
Oh,
and
this
taking
is a
over
great
the show
question.
So well.
I already like this question.
What is your game plan for retirement?
Oh, what is your? We haven't had a coaching session yet. We'll need to.
Well, I had one with your mother.
You had a coaching session with Mom.
Yes.
Okay.
We were dressed. I mean, it wasn't like one of
What?
the, it wasn't like a husband and wife one. Okay. So she said,
Why would you even? Okay.
I was trying to make a joke. You know, that's
I
my,
think
that's
people
my-
are
that's my
laughing.
jo-
I'm not.
Well,
Go ahead.
Of course, you don't have to get any imagery there.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. So your mother said
Right?
your mother said you're not retired.
Why not?
She
So you can make
said-
these crazy
she
jokes on the
said,
radio?
I don't need more husband and less money. Just keep working.
Just keep working.
And I thought, okay, that makes sense to me. Why not do that? I mean, I love the show. I love visiting with our clients. And so, as you know, I've modified my schedule. So my
The
former
life of Riley over there.
my former retirement is working every single day.
Yes, I am.
For during the mornings and all day on Monday, and so I still have pretty much a 40-hour week, but it's a modified 40. It isn't like the hard work
The
that you
grueling
do.
schedule?
The grueling schedule that you have.
You know, it's great. I, too, enjoy not only meeting with our current clients, seeing how they're doing in retirement, but having the opportunity to work with new individuals that are planning for their retirement and really getting to see them through, the planning, the retirement, the transition into being retired. But I do have to say that working every single day and Saturdays, helping people retire, makes me really jealous. And they're all having like a great time. I mean, sometimes there are always bumps in the road, but I would say in general, I get to hear about people going on cruises, people going on trips,
people buying boats,
RVs,
people going on RV trips, all the things that you can dream of in retirement. You know,
that's not
we're
what
here to
That's
help.
funny. That's not what I hear.
What do you hear?
I see them and they're like, "Oh, we have to see you today, not Aaron." I'm like that's nice. Really, that's really nice.
Well, you should just take it as a compliment.
Well, honey, I naturally do take it in that way. I take it in the way that it was meant. So.
Well, praised be that the clients are happy to chat with me, just so, because what happens when you're out there? I can't wait to see like you with clients doing things in retirement. Like, our advisors go on trips with you. We tag along on your trips to Disney World.
Exactly, and you pay for it. You
Right.
pay for us to do it. Thank you so much. That would be a new one, right?
Right.
That's sort of like the I was reading about the other day is that because I always had this joke about your mom and I'm sorry, not your mother, your grandmothers, that we would put them on the boat that never docks.
And that is a real thing now.
It really is. There is a real thing. You can
cruise for life
for 24
months a year. Or 24 months a year, 12 months a year, you can actually take back-to-back cruises, and a lot of people do it because, I mean, think about it. The cost of a cruise is way down recently, at least it had been.
They get their meals.
Get all your meals paid for. You get cleaning of the room. There's medical care available for you. Your Medicare Advantage plan works on the boat, too.
And there are hundreds of other new people you can meet to complain about your children.
Every single day.
Exactly. Life is good.
So this is another invention that you were just ahead of your time for. You had already developed the cruise that never docks.
It was a dream. It was a dream that I thought would be unfulfilled, but now...
Dream fulfilled. We have a lot of clients that do the back-to-back cruises, not the whole 12 months, but like they'll do a week and then get off, and there's another one that they're boarding the very same or next day. Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's just, it's fun to be invited on the journey.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it? And it's really fun to see them. They're enjoying, they're doing the things that they want. And then obviously there's the other side too. Sometimes there's the trials, the tribulations.
People passing away.
Yeah, we just had a client pass away this week. It was, it's sad.
It is.
We build relationships with these folks, but at the same time...
we're then there to help the people that they've left behind.
To make that transition, that game plan is going to continue for them and for their spouses. Then, obviously, as things continue on, so it's good.
It is.
It was a lot of fun, but not as fun as you at Disney World. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I was an entertaining child.
You were the mouth that roared part 2.
Thanks.
No question about that.
Well, you know what? I think our listeners have been wondering where our old friends Joe and Sally have been all this time.
Okay, well...
But they're back.
Well, help us out. Tell us the story.
During a recent coaching session with Joe and Sally, we had a discussion about the importance of having an emergency fund and how to fund it. And like many people, they love having liquid capital on hand, but we're concerned about having too much.
The great thing is, at least right now, like you talked about at the beginning of our first hour when we were talking about interest rates, at least when you have a little excess capital right now that's in liquid savings, you're earning a little bit extra interest on it. But we want to make sure that, your emergency fund fits the size of your emergencies, really.
Yeah, we really like to think of this almost as like a 2-layer cake. One layer is how much money do you need, and most financial planners would say 6 to 12 months
of income.
And really add to that the amount that you need to have to sleep at night. And I would tell you that in working with folks for 40 years, every day you age, the vault grows bigger. There's a real comfort for cash. There's a real comfort for cash. Right. There's a comfort there. And the more cash you have available, and frankly, the more interest it's earning, makes you even feel better today.
Right.
the desire to hold liquid cash is there.
So let's just use a quick monetary example. Let's say that Joe and Sally were needing $3,000 a month to make their life work. So we would suggest at minimum they start with, $18,000 of cash or double that, anywhere in that range, as the first layer of their vault. Then the second layer is, okay, if you got the $18,000, that's 6 months worth of your income need. How much more do you need to feel comfortable? Is that $20,000, so we only need 2, or is it 50, so we need 22?
Yes, and I guess really layer 2 is, I'm going to call it short-term consumption, which is what projects do you have that will require capital in the next 12 months that we need to fund for? And those, frankly, should be in cash. They shouldn't be invested.
Right, because we don't want to meet short-term obligations with long-term risk.
And there are a variety of things, right, Rob, that this could be involved in, right?
Could be paying off college tuition, could have other debts, that last car you're going to ever own, a home remodel, a vacation, a wedding, an anniversary. I mean, the list.
A wedding?
A wedding.
A wedding.
That someone else is paying for.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So these are all things that, the more time we have to plan, the more time that we'll put into having those funds available when the time is right.
Exactly. The last new car is always funny. Like, we're going to buy our last car in retirement. Well, just a week ago, I met with a couple of our clients who they purchased their first new car ever. Not in retirement, but their entire lives. This was their first new car. And before they bought it, they were like, well, it'll be our last car that we buy, so it'll last forever. As opposed to like, oh, we're going to drive this till the wheels fall off. They're like, we can't wait to get another new one. This is the great... They're like in love with the fact they finally, it was an accomplishment, and they felt nice they were able to do that in retirement, something they had never done before, which is buy a new car, and now they want another one.
Well, why? It's sort of like a boat. If you have one, you always need to have a spare. But, in many cases, in Joe and Sally in particular as well, they had done a lot of accumulation of assets through their retirement plans, which many of our clients do, but hadn't accumulated a lot of money when it came to after-tax assets. So we were really tasked with them to say, what are some of the other potential sources that we could use to create this vault? And let's go through a couple of those.
And I think this is a great example of some additional planning that is not necessarily involved in your monthly income need, how you're going to pass your assets on, but this is a goal that a lot of people have because, like you said, Dad, a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to save a lot after tax. So a couple of things that they might consider doing is increasing what they are dedicating to their savings account from every paycheck. So that old adage, pay yourself first. Well, most people pay themselves first by their contributions to their retirement plan. But let's add another layer and say, if you were putting $100 a month aside in your savings account, depending upon how long we have until retirement, maybe we're doubling that, or maybe you're increasing it by 50%. So $150 a month goes in, so we can have the opportunity to build some after-tax cash.
They could also take profits in their non-retirement accounts, rebalance and take those gains and be tax efficient and offset some of the losses against the gains.
That's a great point. If you happen to have some after-tax invested assets, few things. One, you could skim the gains by doing exactly that, doing a little tax harvesting, as they call it, or you might just say, let's set the dividends and interest of those investments to go to cash. You're paying taxes on that anyway. Instead of reinvesting it and then paying taxes again when you hopefully have a capital gain, why not make the sale, or why not have it go to cash? You'll start building it up essentially after tax available to you.
And there are a couple of other scenarios. Number one is that, let's just assume in this case, Joe and Sally are retiring. We could always increase their monthly distributions, siphon off a piece of that to go into their vault, their emergency fund, which isn't a bad thing to do. Or the alternative would be, let's just say that they're not making distributions, but they hit required minimum distribution age. Maybe what we're doing is dedicating some of those RMDs to help fund their vault. Or finally, and this is also something that's really not unusual, we've done the game plan. We found out that, and Joe and Sally aren't quite ready to retire. They're thinking about it, but we find out, guess what? They have enough savings. So what they do is stop their 401k contributions, and they begin to take those distributions and use them. Great things to talk about.
Their savings.
Great things to talk about during coaching sessions. Give us a call, 314-863-0008.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.